The point is, any issues related inside of this country plays out at a very large scale in the global platform, and everybody wants to paint the Hindu religion as being intolerant, ritualistic. Either it needs to be reformed or it needs to be dismantled, like how the recent global dismantling global Hindutva, where Hindutva is being made out to be a political voice and something that will pose a problem to minorities across the world. So when you have 97% of Hindus living in just one single country, that is India, I don't know how global Hindutva can even be built on a platform like that. To air my views, to place my perspectives of how I have been looking at this landscape, and the way I have pictured the complete story that is being played out across the world, and where today the Hindu religion and every identity associated with its culture, civilization is getting painted with a distinct brush of either being Brahminical, or it's being casteist, or it's ritualistic, oppressive to women. You will find this kind of a conversation across the world, irrespective of which part of the world you are. So I have been looking at this framework, and in the last recent few years, the volume has increased multifold. And you even a small issue across in playing in our country gets amplified across the world. So, but before going further, I would like to place 4 or 5 broad statements to give a layout of what is playing with all our social life, with all our identity issues, with all our country kind of stories. These are broad narratives with which we are living in. So the first point will be that all of us need to understand we are living in something called religious civilizational framework. It is not just about civilization anymore. There is a core religious identity which revolves around any kind of a culture, civilization, or country narrative. What this means is that irrespective of the language, ethnicity, geographical distance, cultural markings, people get tied into a single identity called religion. You'll find this, the most, perfect example will be the OIC, which operates Organization of Islamic Council. The 57 countries move together as a single unified bloc. Same thing with the 115 countries where Christianism is the majority religion. You'll find them moving in one single bloc, whether it's Western Europe, it's Americans, Australia, New Zealand, wherever you go, you'll find that the entire Christian bloc moves together. Same thing will happen with the 16 countries where Buddhism is in majority, right from Myanmar across, spreading all the way till Japan. There are 16 countries where the religion identity is clearly distinguished as Buddhism. So what happens is this gives you a total country count of 198 countries, where these 3 religious frameworks rule the entire society, the thought process, the framework, everything that happens in these countries. Now, what we are left is there's only one country in the world which can truly say that it's a Judaism country, that is Israel. No other country can claim that status. And in the similar way, there are only 2 countries in the world where Hinduism is in majority, that is India and Nepal. No other country in the world can even lay a claim to this kind of a framework. Now, why I'm bringing this point is that India today is a living example of this religious civilizational narrative that is happening. In 1947, we had to split the country into 2 parts, East Pakistan and West Pakistan. Though both the units were separated by a distance of about 2,000 kilometers from each other, they were glued together as a single country because of Islam. So that's why I'm saying this is the new reality all of us are living in. Religion will dictate what we do in our life, how the society shapes up, and how people, start looking at their societal living also. So that is point 1. The point 2 is, again, India is the only country to have been colonized by both the Abrahamic faiths, Islam and Christianity, and we have survived. You look across the world, no other country has survived the colonial conquest from both these Abrahamic faiths. Central Asia, Arabia, North Africa, all of them converted to Islam profession. Same thing with, you look at, including Philippines, the latest one, to South America, North America, complete Europe, everything is Christian world. Wherever these two colonial conquests have gone, they have completely captured the land, the people, the resources into their faith. That is the second reality. The third reality is why all this divisive conversation is happening around Hinduism is because India still represents the failure of both Islam and Christianity to subdue us. We are a stark reminder to them that they are not able to conquer this land and its people. Though in the process with Islam coloniality, what happened is we lost about 36% of the land mass, which is today represented by Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And we lost about 28% of the people. But still this civilization has survived with about 85% retaining their original Indic natives religious moorings. This factor has not been able to be easily digested by the lobbies, the Abrahamic groups. And that is why the fights will still continue on and on. The third thing is, if you look at, people don't realize that Hinduism is practiced only, it's a native religion of our country. And it's an indigenous native faith which needs to be protected. And India is the only place which can be called as a Hindu Rashtra, because no other country will even qualify in the race. So there's no point in denying it. It's basic and civilizational moorings in the form of a Hindu Rashtra. That is again not easily digested by others. The fourth point is that Sanatana Dharma, that is what we call the Hindu religion, broadly accommodates Hinduism. You have Buddhism, Jainism, and you have Sikhism, which is the latest one. All of them are sitting peacefully, coexisting nicely with each other. We have given the space for all of them to grow into their own kind of a space and practice it in a very civilized, social, non-conflicting kind of a manner. This is in sharp contrast to the religions of the Middle East. The Abrahamic faiths, you look at Judaism, you look at Christianity, and you look at Islam. All of them bring out their core from the Abrahamic faith, but all of them are in conflict with each other for the past 2000 years. Until today, Jerusalem is a contested place. All three are fighting for that one place. They're not able to sit in unity amongst the diversity. Whereas they need uniformity, and they have to diverse all the other religious practices from their life. That's when they'll find comfort. Whereas we find unity and amidst all the diversity. So that's what I wanted to lay out as a background. Now let's look at take a little reality check. The United States Council for International Religious Freedom, USCIRF, in the last 4 years has consistently ranked India among the top 10 religiously intolerant countries. And we are rated along with us, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Somalia. These are the countries among which we are sitting in the top 10. And India is listed as a country of particular concern, CPC, which is very critical, which means there is religious intolerance and minority religions are facing huge issues. That's what it means. In contrast, if you look at Malaysia and Indonesia, they are ranked as Special Watch List, SWL. That's a different category. So this is what the United States Council for International Religious Freedom, every year they have come out with this rank. Every time, if you look at the US State Departments, there's a minority link. I've given it in my book. If you look at the list, they have rated the India's minorities as Muslims at 200 million, Christians at about 25 to 30 million. And they have also listed Dalits, Adivasis, tribals as part of the minority list. So what is happening is there are a lot of other people outside this country defining who is a minority in this country. And they will then give you the rule book of how you need to engage with your own citizens. That's what the problem. For example, even if you look at the recent hijab ban in a college in coastal Karnataka, or you look at abrogation of Article 377, you look at the CA Citizenship Amendment Act, you look at the Nupur Sharma incident, all of this rankled the entire world countries, and we got lecturing on practicing religious tolerance, on how to treat our minorities. The whole world was up in arms, in fact, including the recent Manipur conflict, which is ongoing between the Kukis and the Meiteis. This was discussed in the Manipur the European Parliament. I don't know why European Parliament is interested in a small state in India. The point is, any issues related inside of this country plays out at a very large scale in the global platform, and everybody wants to paint the Hindu religion as being intolerant, ritualistic. Either it needs to be reformed or it needs to be dismantled. Like how the recent global dismantling global Hindutva, where Hindutva is being made out to be a political voice and something that will pose a problem to minorities across the world. So when you have 97% of Hindus living in just one single country, that is India, I don't know how global Hindutva can even be built on a platform like that. So people are not looking at the numbers. So why all these issues are coming up is because in the last 75 years, we have not done enough. We are not even looked or attempted to break some of these narratives that was left behind by our colonial masters. While the bulk of whatever narrative we are carrying is from the European colonizers, we seem to forget that, or we don't talk about the Islamic colonization. We still are in denial that this land was first invaded and colonized by the Islam believers of that faith, who consistently attacked us 1,400 years. They've been put under the Islamic rule as the way of life for us. And what has happened is the 200 million Muslims sitting in this country are treated as minorities. Now, I don't know where is this coming in from. What does it mean for these 200 million people? Does their history start in 632 CE? Or do they have some kind of a deeper connection to this country? Is something that we're not identified. So we have identity issues with the Muslim community. We have Kashmir as a left behind, which keeps on troubling. Then we also have a lot of Muslim appeasement programs, because since they were our former rulers, we have given them a lot of leeway in terms of appeasements, in terms of favors, in terms of scholarships, in terms of monetary support that's happening. So this issue has not been addressed. And finally, the bigger one is your temple issue. All the 4 temples, core temples, have still not been issued. Ayodhya got sorted out in 2019, but now Kashi is still raising small ticks. And the last one is Mathura temple. So unless these issues are resolved, the community issues will not be settled in these things. So we have not addressed the Islamic identity and what it means to this land in a way long back. That's why today, in the last 75 years, year after year, we have different kind of riots happening, communal fights. All this, what happens is it lays an additional layer of wound, hurt, grievance, and it increases the baggage that we've been carrying for the past 1,300 years. As a small example, if you look at the Government of India website, it's called iccr.gov.in. It's the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. It's a Government of India website. If you click on that website, you look at the founder's message. You click on the founder's message, that is from Abu Kalam Azad, Muhyiddin Ghazi. You read the first 2 lines. It says he's proud of the rich inheritance of the 1,300 of glorious years of Islamic rule in this country. And he goes on to say that without that identity, India is incomplete. Now, a person like Abu Kalam Azad has been so staunch in his faith, in his belief. No problem with that. But does his identity stop at that 1,300 years? What is the relationship? So that is the core issue we are not identified, including the Government of India website also carries this kind of a thing. Now imagine a similar statement by a Golwalkar or a Shyama Prasad Mukherjee or a Veer Savarkar. There'll be a hue and cry to get back onto the secular bandwagon. So that is what is happening. That is the Islamic identity. We have not resolved that part. Second is all these European colonizers defined the religion for this land. They defined the timeline, the historicity. They defined what is the culture, what is Sanskrit as a language. They helped translate a whole lot of our ancient text and have given it back to us, recycled it back to us as our story, starting from the Aryan invasion or Aryan migration theory. Today, that is a big problem in integrating the South with the rest of the country. The Dravidian politics runs purely on this Aryan invasion theory, where they make out saying that the Aryans came from Central Asia and pushed the Dravidians down south. And that's why you'll find so much of resistance from Tamil Nadu into accepting Sanskrit as a language or accepting Hindi as a language or anything to do with North India. So that's a big divide that is still playing out. You remove the Aryan invasion theory and the whole Dravidian politics will fall apart. Next you have is the timelines. I think William Jones in somewhere in 1778 or so, he looked at all the text and he fixed the timeline as 4,300 or 4,000 some kind of a date. So beyond this date, everything else is called a myth. That's why you'll find Ramayana, Mahabharata, everything becoming a myth. Nothing can go beyond the timeline of that 4,000 BCE. Our entire history got crunched into a 6,500 timeline. That is what we are still debating, including all the Western scholars who are debating Hinduism, culture, religion, to the local historians like Romila Thapar, to Ramchandra Guha, Irfan Habib. There are many of them. All of them continue the same narrative. And this is the only land that I can see where we are talking about a DNA, body DNA, to prove that we lived as a single entity, as a single country. Just because what is running inside our body is same across, it means that we have a single cultural identity. So there's a lot of debate on the DNA issue happening there. Nobody is looking at the civilizational DNA or the cultural DNA that we all carry. This land has got a lot of markings across. That's why I said in the first statement that religious civilizational. If you look at the DNA of Islamic follower of Islam from Africa or from Europe or from the Uyghurs, their DNAs will not match, but they're still part of the same religion, religious identity. Same with Christian. You take the DNA samples across, it will not match. But there is no conflict. There is no conflict in terms of their DNA identity. They're all bonded by the religion bonding. It is only in India where we have to prove that what is inside our body is a DNA that we carry across. Hence, the geographical entity called India is part of the same kind of a religion. So these are the kind of narratives that are happening across the country. And the biggest issue again is the caste issue, which the colonial masters left behind. Today, caste has become a global narrative. In the USA, you have many cities which have come out with anti-discrimination policies targeting caste. Caste has been included in Apple, Google, Microsoft, all of their social media policies, their employee engagement initiatives, and their activities. And it's becoming a big talk point in the USA. This means that USA will frame the rules of engagement, defining the caste issue, how to identify Brahmins, how to identify Dalits, and how to place them across. So that same framework will come to India. And as the Microsoft office in India will follow the same policy, and other sub-contractors of Microsoft in India will have to again follow the same policy. What happens is 260 million Indians, how we engage with them will be dictated by the US frameworks. So this is what I mean to say that the frameworks are multifold. That's why I've looked at my book and I've outlined 10 key conflict trigger points. Now these are 10 points which are, you pick up religion in this land, you will be touching any one of these conflict points. The first point which I've outlined is caste. The second point is cow. Now cow vigilantism, Gau Rakshak is making a lot of noise in that. More importantly so because in the cow trade, especially in the meat and skin business, the Dalits and Muslims are the majority of people involved in the trade. And naturally, it comes out with as a conflict trigger point. Third point I've touched is conversions. Now, while the Constitution says you can practice, propagate, and preach your religion in India, They forget that propagate or to spread the religion is meaningless to Hinduism, because there's no concept of conversion available in Hinduism. We have all organically, either you're born into the religion or you miss the bus. That's how it's been there for such a long time. So putting that kind of clause into the constitution, conversion has become a very tricky issue. And day in and day out, we get thrashed by this concept. And I have studied a whole lot of Christian missionaries where they target tribal people, they target Adivasis, they target Dalit. And if you look at some of the other things, they even target jail prisoners, they target slum people, street vendors. And I think the latest one is they're targeting a whole lot of boatsmen in the Varanasi area. They'll leave the Brahmins out. They'll catch the guys who are ferrying you on the boats to convert it to the religion. So this is the depth to which conversion is moved in. But we are still not able to give a response to that, except for anti-conversion laws or, Ghar Wapsi kind of a thing. So conversion becomes a big issue. Next I've looked at is the communal issues between Hindu and Muslim community. I've already highlighted that part. Then I have looked at the Constitution of India, where Article 25 to 30 runs right through discriminating against the majority faith. Then I've looked at even the colonial framework. I've discussed that in detail in my book. After this, what I've done is I've looked at what you call the communism also. India is the only country where communism finds friendship with Christian missionaries and Muslims. Across the world, all three are in loggerheads. They'll never go together. This is the only place where they all come together. For example, if you look at a recent event called Elgar Parishad that happened in Koregaon, Bhima, it happened in 2017. That thing had 260 NGOs coming together. That's when the Jesuit Stan Swami was arrested. He also died in hospital because of illness. That got a lot of global condemnation from all of us. Jignesh Melwani from Gujarat was involved. Umar Khalid was involved. A whole lot of guys were involved in it. Romila, Rohit Vemula's mother was involved in that. The entire activity is nothing but celebrating the 200th victory of Mahar Dalits against the Peshwa. Now, if you look at in 1818, the British won the war against the Peshwas, and the Mahar Dalits were part of that army to help British defeat the Marathas and take over this country. Now, someone remembered this event, and after 200 years, it came up as a nice event to, pitch Dalit in conflict with the rest of the country. So I'm just pointing out the different agencies working to pick up topics which can create conflict in the country. Because I'm saying 260 NGOs, can't they come up with a better plan with a solutions-oriented approach instead of a conflict-oriented kind of an approach? So communism is linked to that kind of thing. And part of communism is the strong hold they have on the academics. Today, I cannot change any history books or any narrative so easily. Even today, it's facing a lot of issues. In spite of 9 years of BJP government, they're still not able to do anything in terms of academic cleansing of our history narrative. Because the left holds a strong hold on the what is to be written, what is to be taught in the country. The third problem with communism is the Naxal. They have pitched the tribal and Adivasis into the conflicting positions. And today, across about 10 to 12 states, it's becoming a big problem with the Maoist kind of armed insurgencies. Though it has ebbed down a little, the entire thing has morphed into more of an urban Naxal issue, which Vivek Agnihotri has written in his book also. Next, I've looked at the constitution in terms of not just the religion part of it. Article 25 to 30 is anyway discriminatory against Hindu religion. But if you look at the concept called secular, it's written in the preamble that we the people hereby are declaring India to be a secular, socialist, democratic republic. You cannot put a word like secular into the preamble, because secular means not being a religion or not professing any particular religion. That only a state can do it. A country can never be secular, and the people can never be secular. Because if I start interpreting that word secular, do you mean to say that all the people in the country, since we have declared ourselves to be secular, I don't profess any religion? which means then what are all the conversion lobbies doing in the country? Why am I bringing anti-conversion laws? The government can straight away disenfranchise everybody as not having any religious identity. Then there'll be no conflict at all. It has created more confusion than clarity. And secular is a Western import. I have even outlined where did this word come from and what is the basis of this word secular and how it is practiced in different countries. And then I've also looked at the country narrative. You look at it, everything people say that India is a recent country, which means to say before 1947, there was no country. So that is very confusing. That's why even in the constitution, it says India, that is Bharat. While everybody understands that India maybe is the modern country of 1947, what is Bharat is left unsaid. We have not resolved that issue. That's why the conflict keeps on coming back. Some people want to go back to the ancient knowledge system that we had, see what is the dharmic consciousness that we can bring in. And there's a whole lot of guys who are saying modern scientific approach, that is India. So there's a clash between India and Bharat. That's also a conflict that's happening in the country. And for the country part of it, I looked at the entire world itself. While if you look at the eastern part of India, you'll find a huge amount of ancient contacts of how this civilization impacted right from Japan, Korea. Even today from Korea, they come to Ayodhya to celebrate the princess, Suraratni. There is a princess who's supposed to have gone to Korea and married the king. And the current Kim clan still link it up to their lineage from that queen. And every year Koreans come to Ayodhya and pay the respects to this lady. That's the kind of contact we had. Japan, we have find the same thing. China, Mongolia, Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines. Across, I found a lot of stuff. But when I looked at the other side, on the Western side, suddenly there's nothing available because Islam and Christian colonial conquest of these areas ensured that nothing survives. But if you probe a little bit more, if you look at Lithuania, the connections will start popping up again. Lithuania is very close to Sanskrit. Many of the words are very close. You'll find Aswin, they call for the horses. For teeth, they call dantas. To wish you good luck, they'll say labas. So you'll find a lot of things. If you look at the last few years, many people have picked up this similarity between Lithuania and Sanskrit. And people are working on, again, it's called Proto-Indo-European language. That is again coming up. But in this, I've outlined saying that if you look at Panini's book, Ashtadhyaya, it's called Ashtadhyaya. It's not called Sanskrit. Sanskrit was never called a religion at that time. So when you don't have a language called Sanskrit, how can you even go back to say that Sanskrit originated in the central steppes and one part came to India through the Aryans? There's no connection. People are grasping at jackstraws to use any kind of a thing to say that nothing originated in this land. Everything came from outside. That is the point that they want to make. And I've even linked at all these things. That's why I looked at very closely with the Iranian. If you look at the old Avestan, it links very closely to the ancient Sanskrit language. And the word used is called melcha in Sanskrit. The word is called, melechas is called something for foreigners or outsiders. And all the people from that part of Iran were called melechas. Today, that word is morphed into Balochistan. It's become a natural border. If you do a little research, you'll get that Balochistan got its name from that melechas word. Its origin from there. It indicated a natural border. And this goes back to the Rig Veda where the 10-tribe fight happens. The Sudasa's clan, the Bharata clan won the war, and these 10 tribes dispersed across. One group, my thesis, my interpretation is that one of them went to Iran. That's why if you look at the old word for Iran, that the Greeks were using is Persia. Until about 1939 or so, it was still called Persia. Then the Shah Pahlavi asked all of them to change the name to Iran, or is it the land of Aryans? The appropriation, you'll see a lot similarity because these 10 tribes went out. They picked on the name Arya, which is a truly cultured guy. And they incorporated that into their behavior. That's why the Aryan Iranians has become more popular there. Whereas the people on our side, we started calling them as melchas, as uncultured. They said, no, we are cultured. So they picked up the Aryan. We call them uncultured, Melchas, outsiders. And you'll find the same thing with, we call Asuras bad guys. They started calling Asuras as Ahura Mazda, as the good guy. It goes, appropriation goes on like this. And today, Iran is called as the land of Aryans. If you look at the ancient Mitannis and I think Sumerians texts, they say these are the people from the land of Aryan, Iranian. So there's a whole lot of similarity. If you go closer, you'll find a lot of these kind of similarities. So I've included all these parts in my chapter on the country narrative, saying that we already had an extensive cultural touch points across the world. Somehow we are made to believe that we didn't even go out of this country. People from time to time came inside, invaded us, went back, invaded us, went back. Greeks came, then Darius came and invaded us. Sungas came, Sakas came, Scythias came. So it's a series of invasions only. Nobody talks about what we did outside of this land. So this entire lot is captured in my country chapter. Last bit I've talked about is the civilization, where I've said that today the latest framework for this civilization is happening in the Harvard University. That's where I would like all of them to look at Rajiv Malhotraji's book, Snakes in the Gangas. He's come out with the second book. I've read his first book, which is called Breaking India Forces. If you read that, you'll know the depth of the Christian reach in this country and how different lobbies are working together. So in the civilization chapter, if you look at it, currently the caste narrative is being used as a framework to paint this entire thing. So the first step is, if you read Isabel Wilkerson's book, Caste, the Origins of Our Discontent. It's received a lot of accolades in Harvard also. It's become mainstream. She says that the Britishers took caste from India and they applied it on the blacks in Africa, in America. The slave issue is completely dependent on Indians because we bought the caste, we formulated the caste issue and the Britishers joyfully took it and went and applied it. So whatever the Black Lives Matters is because of the Indian caste issue. She's propagating that. Supporting her is another professor called Ajanta Subramanian. She's also from Harvard. Her book is IITs and IMMs are casteist organizations. She's even bought out a book. They're saying that under the garb of meritocracy, they're promoting Brahminical attitudes. And all these guys passing out of IITs go to the US and propagate caste there. That is currently the current narrative that's happening there. And Equality Labs in the US, which is run by Soundarya Tenmoyi. She's claiming to be a Dalit right activist. She's a US citizen, born in the US, but she's a Dalit warrior in the US. The numbers don't add up to me, but that's a different topic. But she's championing Dalit issues. That's why you'll find all this case against Cisco, California state coming out with anti-discrimination against caste. All these are happening in the US. The third level is Harvard is bringing in a whole lot of framework of what you call social justice, governance, and they have another word called diversity, equity, and inclusion. DIE it's called. Now I'm saying all these frameworks are going to come back to India in the form of a framework of religion on how to run the business. So there's a fourth thing that is happening. It's called Religious Freedom and Business Foundation, RFBF. You look at their website, you'll find a whole lot of things. What they're doing is they're bringing religion into the workplace in a very formal way. And as part of that, there is also a thing called index called REDI, Ready Index, REDI. It means religion, inclusion, diversity, and equity. So all the top multinationals like AT&T to Intel, IBM, Dell, Microsoft, all of them are part of this index. They publish this index saying that how the corporates are doing in terms of religious freedom within the organization. The organizations need to set up what is called employee support group to bring in that religious practices. They need to set up chaplains inside the office space, like how we used to set up places of worship in railway stations and airports for the Muslims. You need to set up that. Employees contributing a certain amount of money for a cause, the employer has to match it along with that. So there are about 10 conditions for you to sit into that. I'm sure another couple of years, this will be coming back to India and we'll be running our country on those guidelines. So the point I made in the civilization is saying that unless we dismantle and own all this, create our own interpretation of what our religion is, what our culture means to us, what our civilization is for us, the world will continue to dictate those terms to you, and you'll be browbeaten into following those kind of diktats. So this is briefly what I wanted to cover, these 10 conflict points in my book. One more point. Last portion, I included something called the Truth and Reconciliation platform as a method where we can give people an opportunity. It's more like a portal or a space to create a healing mechanism. There are about 54 countries in the world which have tried a truth and reconciliation kind of a setup. India, we don't even talk about truth and reconciliation. And while in many other countries, they needed only one truth and reconciliation committee, we will need about hundreds of them. Only one will not work for us. South Africa did it once to just resolve the black majority oppression under the white minority. Even New Zealand is right now doing one where the white majority suppressed the Maori minority. That issue is still going on. Ireland and Northern Ireland had to have the Good Friday Agreement in 98. So even that was like more like a truth and reconciliation. Whereas in India, I'll need to resolve Muslim issues. I need to resolve Dalit issues. I have to resolve the Dravidian issue. I need to resolve tribal issues. There are a huge number of things happening. What I've done is I picked a few of these into my truth and reconciliation process. What we need to do, what are the issues we need to identify, and how we can bring better clarity to our own people through these kind of a forum and platform, and see that as a society, we can then resolve these issues, accept certain bitter truths, swallow the pill, and start living as one single united civilization. So that is what my third eye book covers as a complete thing. It's a very exhaustive book. So this is what I've covered.
What about the conversion and the anti-conversion law, which is being talked about, but nothing's happening in India?
Because what happens is basically the framework is something that we don't understand. If you look at a project called Joshua Project, joshuaproject.net, you go to that site, you'll click on the India button, you'll find a complete statistics there. And they have outlined saying that this is the least reached large catchment area for Christian missionaries. And it says that 84% practice Hinduism, and they have people groups. They have got about 3,500 people groups. They have worked it out district-wise, village-wise, town-wise, city-wise. There's a complete statistics available across Joshua Project. You go to Ends of Earth ministries, you'll find the same thing. People don't understand there's a huge amount of back-end work that happens in terms of data crunching for converting, for the simple reason that Christianism is a proselytizing faith. Evangelism is inbuilt into that. It's hardwired into their things. Wherever a Christian goes, he needs to convert the other. It doesn't work like that. Whereas Hinduism is a what do you call non-exclusive, non-proselytizing. There's no conversion concept. So that's why I pointed out across all the conversion atrocities that you'll find in the country is only from Islam and Christianity. You will not find it in Zoroastrians because there's no conversion concept. You will not find in the Jews who are still here. There's no conversion concept. Buddhism is the only one which went out through conversions, but that is part of the Sanatana Dharma. We don't even look at it as anything against this. If you look at again, all this kind of, only these two religions have this kind of a faith. Islam has got a different ball game. While conversion is still active, they have a lot bigger problems. That's why the communal riots keep on coming in. That's why what I've done is in the conversion chapter, we don't distinguish between social work and evangelical work. All the NGOs, that's why all the NGOs are registered under the FRCA, Foreign Regulations Contributions Act. Now today, because that is under scrutiny, these evangelicals have gone one step ahead and looked at as a more of a startup funding. That's why you'll find Omidyar networks and a whole lot of foreign venture funding, venture capitalists investing in new formats of pushing the conversion agenda into the country. I proposed a simple kind of a thing saying that there are three things that we can do. One is I look inward of Hinduism, come up with my own conversion agenda, a format, and saying that now Hinduism is also open for conversions. Who all want to come, come. I can become equally aggressive and go out. Then what will happen is the hurt will be lesser on the Indic population. Today we are doing that Ghar Wapsi in anti-conversion laws because we are feeling that hurt, saying that people from here went converted to Christian faith, converted to Islam faith. I'm not able to bring them back. I don't have a tool format. That is one way of looking at it. But that's a long process, a rigorous process, and we don't have a central authority to say that, okay, this is the process, go and convert. We cannot do that. The other thing that we can do is look at all these NGOs who are coming for social work. They're targeting tribal, slums, poor people, all this bit is happening. Create only two formats for them. If you're a faith-based organization, you'll be registered, you'll be monitored, and if you're converting people, you need to report. The other guys who are there only for social causes, food, medical aid, education, developmental work, they are not in the conversion business. Isolate them, keep them separately. They are not even supposed to go and talk about any kind of a religion faith. So once you create this kind of a distinction and get them registered separately, you'll have more clarity. Today, these two are clubbed together. So I don't know which NGO is coming in and which part of which church they are, where are they going and what are they doing out there. If you read the Graham Stans murder that happened, it's a very bad incident, a blot on our civilization. But if you read the story through, you'll find that people who are converted, the new converts were creating a whole lot of social issues out there. So the guys who are sitting, the tribals who are sitting, got so fed up that they had to take this extreme action. That's the level to which they were pushed. Unless we wake up and attack that. The third point is, what are our own dharmic institutions doing? Why are we blaming even the evangelical guys going out to tribal areas and converting? Why are we not stepping up, going there and comforting them? They need money, they need spiritual support, they need some amount of well-being. We have a huge amount of dharmic institutions. They are not going there. So we have left that area vacuum, and we have created a natural step in for evangelical agencies to come in to push the conversion. So the anti-conversion bit will not work out. It's a long process. Unless I go back to the constitution and say that, Hinduism as a native practice needs to be ring-fenced. Start with that. Today, you're putting the word secular in the constitution is not helping you at all. So I see 3-4 different formats in this as solutions, but we need a strong will and we need to have a spine to stand up and say enough is enough. So unless that happens, the conversion game will continue to go on.
Apart from that, there is so much of narrative that Hinduism is casteist, Indians are casteist. While we have heard so many times, and we know that caste is a concept given by the British, imposed by the British on Indians. We had a Varna system according to your work, according to your nature, vritti, but still there is so much of ignorance even within India. And secondly, with these things, like you mentioned Graham Stains now, that's like old, ancient. Nobody mentions Kanhaiya Lal. Nobody mentions this Abhishek guy. Nobody mentions Ankur. The misinformation is so badly steeped in. Yesterday, Rahul Gandhi goes to Wayanad and says, oh, I'll never forget those 2 women of Manipur. I mean, what do we do when there is a systematic agenda of breaking India on the lines of caste? And like you mentioned, Bhima Koregaon, we had Captain, in fact, this is for the audience, Captain Smita Gaikwad. She is given a series of talks on Sangam Talks, where she even met that Varvara Rao, the poet, the Dalit.
Yes.
There is so much of misinformation in a systematic way. Even today, if we talk of riots, you will have all these leftists coming up with 2002 Gujarat riots. Oh, it's 2023. Nobody talks about the Delhi riots. Nobody talks about anything after that. But anyway, so how do we counter our own systematic political agenda, which is there to break India, and to the misinformation even within India?
Sure, I'll answer this in 2 parts. One is the caste issue. I'll keep that separate that you have talked upon. I'll come to your other things about people within this country bad-mouthing the civilization, not knowing what they're talking. This is what I call, we have to dismantle the Sepoy 3 culture. I would call it the Sepoy 3 culture. Sepoy 1 culture happened during the Islamic invasions, where a whole lot of our own sepoys got either converted or joined as gun carriers for the Islamic invaders, joined their army. Must be because of a source of income. It's a job. They have to go. That's ensure food on the plate. So many of Hindus also joined the Islamic conquerors to rule this country. That is Sipahi 1 culture. Sipahi 2 culture is again the Indian Sipahis who fought for the Britishers. Many people went outside this country also. World War I and II has got a whole lot of Indians who have gone carrying the gun for a whole lot of British colonial masters. That is Sipahi culture 2. Today it's a very sophisticated. No, people don't no longer carry the gun, but they carry the pen. And these are all the historians, academicians, celebrities, political parties who have bought into this entire narrative of India was casteist, that the caste system was applicable across the country uniformly. Well, they say that this country was not a single entity. When it comes to caste, we become a single entity. All the saying that India as a new country will come in when we have a country origin kind of a story. But when it comes to caste, it was uniform. It is birth based. Now this is a colonial construct because they follow the Christian framework. In Christian, everybody is born a sinner. It's by birth. That is the framework that they use. That same framework has been applied to saying that caste is by birth. So that's why this Sipahi culture, unless it's dismantled, nothing much will happen because we have people inside the country killing us. It's like, I've written like it's like the autoimmune disease. There's a new disease in the body. Your own body, good cells will kill the bad cells. So unless you clean up your own system, you can't blame the viruses sitting outside the body. So that is the Sipahi culture that we need to break in. Coming to the caste part of it, I've not looked at it only from a Varna and a Jati part of it. If we are a lot more complex than what is being written out, I attempted to look at it from a Varna perspective, the Jati perspective, and also Gotra perspective. Gotras again, initially it started with a patrilineal tracking of people through their genes from a single parentage. It had 7 Gotras with Atri, Bharadwaj, Kashyapa, and a whole lot of other guys, 7 of them. But now that has had its own wings. So Gotras again a separate one. And it's looked at in a lot of marriages only. Same Gotra means I am siblings and I cannot marry. We use Gotra in a whole lot of, and Gotra is not related to Jati, it's not related to Varna. Now, Jati is again linked to different communities across the country. We're not talking about a uniform language. We're not talking about a uniform kind of people. So the languages are different, and the Jatis were formed on terms of the practices also. Whether I'm a Kumhar, I'm a a Lohar, I'm a bangle maker. So based on the trade craft, it's more like a visiting card for me. If I say if I attach my name as XYZ and go there, they'll know this chap is an expert in bangle making. So it is more like a visiting card. Jati system followed that kind of a thing. Then you also had a lot of Adivasis and tribal people. That whole sector is completely different. They had their own tribal sets. What Britishers did was amalgamated all this into a single caste system, crunched it, and today that is the mess we're sitting in. And they introduced the Tribal Criminals Act or something like that in 1960s. So a lot of people were ostracized, pushed out of places, kept bonded within a particular territory. They're strictly supervised. So this alienation of people, endogamy, all this started from the Islamic invasions because the conversion was happening. That's where the endogamic practices spread. And from the 12th century onwards, the rigidity increased in the society. The Jatis started knitting more together amongst themselves. So there's a huge history of what this entire caste narrative is. We need to have experts to come and sit down and say that caste is not from this country. It's an imposition on us. We dismantle it. What we had is Varna, which is maybe not relevant today. So we'll discard that. Jati, maybe it's relevant in a few community areas. I will keep that in a particular format. Tribal areas and Adivasis, I'll keep a separate kind of like the Santal tribes have got their own religion. I'll keep it for their own family. I'll preserve the tradition and culture. So we need to go back, revisit these formats, saying that, okay, Gotra, maybe your wish. Marriage is something that you need to do. Whether you want to marry between or you want to keep it, things, your things. The society doesn't have a say in that. So we need to separate these buckets, dismantle the entire lot and say that caste is not from this land. Unless the government of India does this, this will still keep continuing as a casteist issue across the world. No matter what you do here, unless you dismantle it in India, it will not have an impact in the USA.
There is a question from Vinita ji. She says, thanks for this enlightening talk. Can you throw some more light on the ubiquity of Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma across the globe? People say that all this is mythology, as the evidence is found only in Indian territory like Shakti Peeth and other cultural unities. Secondly, she says your example of Lithuania was news. Any other such examples?
Thank you. So, Vinita ji, what we need to understand is today people call Sanatana Dharma as an eternal religion. They don't understand that there is no word called religion in Indian what do you call language systems. Even Sanskrit does not have a word called religion. Dharma does not mean religion. So the word religion is new to this land, and the format we are following is the Abrahamic faiths framework of looking at religion. That's why even the places of worship is now stuck in court cases, because and even the Sabarimala temple was again a big litigation issue of allowing women entry into the place. We equate places of worship along with the mosque and the church. In India, places of worship are very unique. They have their own etymology, they have their own font and knowledge base. It's not a place for entry for everybody. Each one has got its own sampradaya, its own practices. We gave it a uniform look with the Abrahamic faiths. So Sanatana Dharma, what I have found out is, I went back and looked at where did this word religion come from to us. So I looked at how we worship nature, how the Trimurtis came in, the creation, destruction, followed by again sustaining the entire Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. Again, we are worshipping the Shivalinga. Every temple has got something called the Garbhagriha. That's where the idol is kept. So I looked at different frameworks of defining this faith. What I've understood is that Sanatana Dharma is, what we did is we just copied what is happening across around us and inside of us as an endless cycle of birth and death, creation, destruction, preservation. There's an entire cosmic circle that is going on. That entire thing, it's not because as per I think Rig Veda or somewhere it's written that the universe is beginningless, endless, timeless, continuous, and causeless. If you look at a Nasadiya Sukta in the Rig Veda, it gives you a huge amount of philosophical punch. I am not even a qualified person to be talking about these things, but I've just glimpsed through these things. So what Sanatana Dharma is that endless creation of the universe, the cosmos, is what we have framed as a Sanatana Dharma. And the practices was followed by this. We have daily puja, I have rituals, I have activities which are linked to my life for me to live a peaceful life, a strong and a healthy life. So these practices over a period of time acquire different kind of measures, and we have a deification of different forms also. Even a tree I will worship, even a stone I will worship. I look at everything as deity for me. This is not the same thing as the Abrahamic faiths. In a church, you remove the cross, it becomes a building. A mosque is not even a place of worship. For them, the Kaaba is the holiest place. There's no image out there. But we have mixed all this confusion into a framework called religion. And that's why unless we define, Sanatana Dharma is that endless creation of external and internal events in our life. And this is what we follow. And it's a very unique practice restricted only to this land. Secondly, coming to this geographical thing that she talked about, Lithuania is now coming up later, but if you go to the old Mitannis and Hittites in the Mesopotamian area, you will find a lot of links. You look across the area, you'll find Varman as a Kshatriya clan. All the kings, both east and west, kept the name Varman as a part of the clans. Martial arts went out from here, we know that. Languages, we had a big impact. Right from Myanmar till Japan, the Sanskrit, Pali, and your Brahmi scripts have had a lot of mixing inside. We have language influence, we have civilizational influence, we had a whole lot of influence on the east side. West side, unfortunately, got ring-fenced with these two Abrahamic faiths, and a whole lot of links to the civilization has been broken, dismantled, and assimilated into both these faiths. That's why if you go there, you will not find any kind of a issue out there. For example, the Aryan invasion theory is only a big issue only in India. It doesn't matter to Pakistan, it doesn't matter to Bangladeshis, and it doesn't matter to even the Central Asian guys. They are supposed to have come in here. It it makes no sense to them. So because the religious identity is Islam and their world starts from 632 CE, nothing else matters to them. It's the religion issue is only here. We need to address it here. I hope I answered the question.
Sir, you just spoke about applying or living Sanatan Dharma in our own lives. Professor B.B. Venkatesh asks, what at the family level can be done to stabilize the values of Hindu Dharma?
That's a very important question, because what distinguishes Islam and Christian from our faith? You ask any person who's following the Christian faith or the Islam faith, not just in India but across the world, they are very clear on what is their religion all about, what are the key tenets, and why they are following it out. They are very straight because the schooling is given to them at the home level. The same thing is practiced in the madrasas or in these schools that are promoted by the church. So there is a constant grooming of their religious doctrines are packaged and fed into the population to continue that conversation. What we have done is in India at the home level, a whole lot of practices coming unpacked. In fact, now bursting firecrackers in Diwali itself it's becoming more of a pollution issue than a festival issue. So Durga festival happens across the country, but we don't know why exactly. We have lost connect. It's a deracinated people group. Unless at home level, what has happened is we are left holding a set of rituals. We know we are doing getting up, we are doing Sandhya Vandanam, or we are doing Upavasa on Amavasya, or we are upholding some of these festival rituals. We don't know why we are doing that. That meaning has been lost. That disconnect is very clear. Unless we reconnect back at a family unit level and thought in a more of a knowledge enhancing level to our children at the grooming level, at a home basis, only then that will revive some sparks. At the school level, the constitution very clearly says that only Hindu schools or majority religion schools cannot teach religious practices inside the institutions. So at the school level, we are broken. Same thing if you look at the US, there are a lot of, I listed about 2,000 to 3,000 schools which follow different formats of Christian and Islamic teachings. And about 3 million US children go to those schools. So in India, we're disconnected with our education, with our culture and our religion. And at a unit family level, we are more deracinated and decluttered out there. Unless we connect back, that will be that's the first step that we need to take to bring back our connection with this ancient civilizational roots.
Sir, we had a tenant who was a Sikh lady, old lady, staying alone, but every day she would walk down to the Gurudwara and she would take my niece along. So that is ingrained from childhood. Hindus, as a Brahmin, I have seen a North Indian Brahmin at that. I have seen 3 generations of us being ashamed of being Indian or Hindu or brown. As simple as that. We have what we call brown sahibs in my own family till now. So we have, like, when you say that we have been deracinated from our roots, it is because we have been ashamed. We are so even now Hindu boys, Brahmin boys, they'll become a computer scientist, do their own quiet thing. But we are afraid to take a stand or go speak out, leave alone go throwing stones. Nobody will do that. So I don't know. I don't know how hopeful you are.
I think we are disconnected at a individual level, at a family level, and at a society level. Even today, the loot of the temple wealth is still continuing, and not many are still aware of that. The Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowments Act controls all the Hindu religious temples only. Government of India controls it. A secular country, government controls the temple wealth and continues the loot. Not many people even know about it. Not many people even talk about it. Tamil Nadu alone has about 40,000 temples under their control. They brought out a report saying that about 39,000 temples don't have money for a single aarti. So the loot is continuing out there at the temple level.
We are ashamed as a generation.
That is because we are carrying a guilt trip. All of us have been guilt tripped into saying that it's a Brahminical thing, caste casteist religion, ritualistic. We don't even understand what are the different rituals for. And we started looking at temples as a uniform kind of a thing. I can go to any temple. No, each temple has got its own nomenclature. If you look at Sinu Joseph from Bangalore has written a book on the menstruation practice. The Kamakya temple is a menstrual practicing temple. The Bhagavati temple is again menstrual practicing temple. Kala Bhairav temples have got a different kind of a concept. Same thing, even today, the Rajo Paraba is a festival in Orissa, which celebrates menstrual kind of a thing. The Devdasi system has been condemned by everybody. If you look at Bollywood has played a major role in upgrading Urdu as a language of liking and had downgraded the culture of this land. If you look at a movie like Sham Singha Roy, where the Brahmin is abusing all the women, he calls every day one girl to his room, and he also urinates on a woman. That's how we portray Brahmins. Bollywood does not understand that they have a duty to give the right kind of a projection to this kind of a thing. They have maximized their monetary gains by playing on all these anti-Thakur, anti-Brahmin, anti-Baniya, anti-Lala kind of a movie scenarios and pro-communist. If you look at like Acharya, which is a movie which Chiranjeevi and his son played, they look at Naxals as an aspirational role. Virata Parva was another Telugu movie where Rana Dugupati and Pallavi Sai played the role. Pallavi Sai is enamored she looks up to him as a leader, as an aspirational figure. So Bollywood has continuously, by Bollywood I mean all the film industry in the country, have not understood the religious or cultural nuances that they need to protect and project in a favorable way. They have used all the cracks in the joint to the hilt to maximize their own profits. So it's a very long we have multiple enemies. One enemy sitting within us. We don't know our own identity. It's like, we need a Jambavan who and told Hanuman what is his actual strength. We need somebody to come to us, open up our own knowledge systems, saying that this is actually what your religion is, what your civilizational moorings, and that awakening has to happen, that consciousness has to come out. Unless that happens, it's going to be very difficult. All Islam and Christian people have to do is just sit back and wait. We are on a self-destruction path. So unless the wake up time is now, we need to wake up now and do something about it. Each one of us, otherwise we have a long and bitter journey ahead of us.
One more, just a little deviation from, you said the temples are still under control and are being looted. So Subramaniam Swamy had filed a petition where he has said that Sonia Gandhi's family owns these huge stores. She had been smuggling Indian antiques from Indian temples and they are being auctioned at hefty prices. And her family, she was a waitress or an escort girl, some say. And now her father owns one of the biggest stores of Indian antiques abroad.
Okay.
And this guy, Priyanka's husband, Vadra, is the fastest grown billionaire in the world. So I don't know, where does the temple money go? Last question. What do we do about these? Year after year, we have these forums coming up with India's religious freedom index. And, India is always ranking very low. Even on happiness index, we roll much lower than Pakistan. So what do we do about this?
Even
kind
in
of
academic
a formalized?
also, they are rated below Afghanistan. So,
oh my God, right.
It came up, I think, 2 months ago. I think one of the indexes which rated academic freedom in India to be below Afghanistan. And Foreign Affairs Ministry had come out with a statement condemning these kind of reports. What happens is we need to understand one thing. I'll go back to that anti-immune disease that I talked about. These are our own sepoys who are downgrading and, having zero clue on what our culture and civilization is. So they go about bad-mouthing the kind of system. Currently, if you look at the BJP and the RSS is linked to a Hindutva project. If you look at the entire terminology, it will be called as a rightist, fascist, nationalistic kind of party. Tomorrow it'll be no wonder if some government even bans these kind of parties. So what happens is inside the country, we don't have our own mechanisms. There are a lot of people bad-mouthing the country. We are disconnected. So the Dalits will run their own agenda. The Adivasis run their own agenda. Dravidians run their own agenda. The Northeast runs their own agenda. So each one is working at their own different. There's no unity or recognition saying that we are all part of this same country. For example, if you see Parshuram Kund is there in Arunachal Pradesh. The Hinglaj in Pakistan is one of the Shakti Pitas. Sharda Peeth is there in Kashmir. You have religious markers which said this is a single geographical entity. But people are still not connected to those kind of things. There's a lot of disconnect happening. And we have bought into these narratives pushed in by the colonial masters that we are on a self-destruct mode without realizing that we are causing more harms. Political parties, you leave them aside. They are there only for the political benefits. Unless the people awaken and say, for example, if all the people say that I will vote for XYZ party, if you free all the temples. So what we are missing is called street veto. We don't bring that out. The majority population have not exhibited any kind of a street veto. The only person who did that successfully was Mahatma Gandhi. I wouldn't even call him, I'll call him MK Gandhi. He shook up the entire British Empire with his kind of the following that he created on the street. The street veto power is aptly used by both Islam and communism and Christian bodies. They come out on the street and do a huge amount of protest. CAA was an example of what they could do on the streets. Unless the majority comes out and says, I want my temples back, I'll vote for you. Abolish the 1991 Place of Worship Act. Unless we put our terms clear and join in as a united kind of a front, put the power on the street. Street veto is something that is big time missing in the majority Hindi community. Unless we do that, it's very long journey for us.
One more little thing. You were talking about secularism in the beginning of the talk, and you spoke about how differently, in different ways, various ways, secularism is practiced in different countries. Could you say a little about that?
Yeah, for example, if I say that most of us will think that European countries are secular. That's a general belief, with France being the topmost. If you look at France also, they have got 6 holidays that they've declared, 12 holidays, of which 6 are Christian holidays. So even that is not proper secularism. If it's a proper secularism, you can say, I'm not going to declare any holidays. Whoever wants to celebrate his faith-based holidays can take a leave, right? That's the level to which secularism can go in. But if you look at Austria, Germany, Sweden, Italy, Spain, everyone has got something called church tax. Whether you are part of that city or you're earning income, you need to pay a portion of the tax which goes to the church. German itself, I think the figure was some 9 billion euros in some 5-6 years ago. That's the amount that went to the church as church tax. So they collect tax from you and give it there. The opposite is happening in India. I go put my money in the Dan Petty donation box. The government IAS officer comes in his car, takes a box, counts the money, leaves some small change, takes the bulk of the money and goes back. I think some estimates puts the money at 1 trillion rupees is the kind of money that's taken away from the temples into the government coffers. All this get mixed into the general budget. Then you have minority appeasement, scholarships, grants. If you look at each state government, all of them have got one division, which is minority division. Telangana has got a Christian Development Fund. Karnataka has got one. Tamil Nadu has got one. Andhra Pradesh. You look at state after Bihar, Uttar Pradesh. All of them have got one minority ministry where funds are dedicatedly allocated for church building, for renovation, for imam salary. Money goes like that. Not one kind of a thing goes like I'm giving money to the priest, I'm giving money to this temple guy. Nothing happens. And India is the only country where the police can enter the Chidambaram temple. They will not try the same trick on a mosque or a church. So secularism is a garb and it's a misused kind of a word. And people say that no, India is a secular country. A country can never be secular. It's a geographical boundary. People can never be secular. Being a Hindu, I will have my own traits. Being a Christian person, he'll have his own traits. Only the state can be secular. And in India, though we have secular in the constitution, majority religion faith is given a different kind of a treatment. And the minority, till about 2019, we had a Hajj subsidy, which was going to for people in the Muslim community to go back. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister has got a separate fund for people to go to Jerusalem. We give out doles to the minority people. Majority still suffers. So secularism is not part of this country. We need to dismantle, look at it, dismantle it. We need to come back to Sanatana Dharma Rashtra kind of a thing, framework, where we treat all religions equally, and we'll say that this is a native practice, needs to be protected. We cannot give you a free pass to come and convert people. Unless we put a full stop there, it'll be a difficult journey.
So as like comments to that, Vinitaji says, related to secularism, can declaring India as a Hindu country sort out the problems? And Pramod Sharma ji says, we need to unite and must be proud to be Hindu. Any comments? How can you do that?
Both statements are correct. What has happened is the entire world has guilt tripped us into believing their narrative. In fact, even the BJP government has gone so far to say that we have done a lot more for the Muslims than the previous governments, which means even the current dispensation is under a guilt trip. They want to show that we do a lot more for the Muslims. Nobody's bothered about the majority. The majority will anyway survive is the attitude. So by declaring, it's not by declaring it as a Hindu Rashtra, because no other country qualifies for it. I cannot go and declare some other country as a Hindu Rashtra. None of them qualify. What happens is, once I declare this as a Sanatana Dharma Rashtra, I'm putting an automatic ring fencing of the native practice. I'm distinguishing, saying that Hinduism is a practice of this land and it will be treated in a separate way. Even the Constitution of Thailand gives us preferential treatment to the state religion, saying that Buddhism needs to be protected. So there has to be a native protection initiative. So that will create one level of ring fence. Second, what will happen is it will give us the strength to say that I am the representative body for all the Hindus across the 200 countries worldwide. There are 35 million Hindus who feel ashamed to come out directly, openly and talk about Hindus' practices. The swastika is being still looked at as a hate symbol, whereas we should claim it back. It is being mixed with the Nazis' hook and cross. It's called hook and cross. It's not the swastika. Swastika is a Hindu symbol. The hook and cross is the curved Nazi symbol. That is a hate symbol. We have to claim back, saying that don't call it swastika, Nazi swastika. Yoga, again, if you see, you'll have Christian yoga, you have Islam yoga, you have secular yoga. We have not claimed back. So there's a lot of work to be done. Once I declare this as a Hindu Rashtra, then automatically I can then move forward to reclaim symbols, civilizational attributes, and start building that kind of a pride amongst all the diaspora also. So that's an important step that we need to take.